Okay, since the Northeast is basically the set of Apocalypse of Ice right now and I can't leave and watch a film, we're gonna do a TV review. And A Night of the Seven Kingdoms ended and it was good, to much surprise, because after the mess of season 2 of House of the Dragon, this universe is becoming like a terrible ex that just won't leave you alone. And this show had a lot up against it. For me, with only 6 episodes and 30 minutes apiece, I was very much thinking, can we just make this a movie and call it a day? Like, do we really need all this? Because I don't know if I'll have the patience to tune in week to week for a show that just has this little time to really engage me. But from episode 1, they do make quite an impression. I'm not the biggest Game of Thrones guy, but to my understanding, this series takes place about 80 years after the events of House of the Dragon and 80 years before Game of Thrones. So this is kind of like a flop era between Targaryen's bullshit hours. And to the show's credit, with its reduced stakes, it manages to calibrate itself well. A lot of the time when we get spin-offs to popular shows, they usually just feel like reheated leftovers of their predecessors. Not a terrible thing, unless it's Ravenswood, but just a weak imitation of something we liked better. But this show does well to distinguish itself while still feeling consistent within the Song of Ice and Fire universe. There are no dragons, political intrigue, spectacle to fall back on at all in this show. There are just its characters, and thankfully these characters are great. Dunk and Egg are some of the nicest, easiest to enjoy people in all of this world. Their dynamic of the tiny, precocious kid balanced out with the big, honorable idiot works so well. And at this time, I do want to dispel some of the things I've seen online where people are saying that the Knights of the Seven Kingdoms characters are so good because they are likable, and the House of the Dragon characters aren't good because there is no one to root for. I think that is a very myopic way to think about characters. Good characters are made out of conflict. Good characters are people existing in a world hostile to them. None of that has anything to do with how likable or good they are. Being likable is a useful tool, no doubt, but some of our favorite characters in all of TV are deeply flawed, terrible people. We empathize and enjoy characters like Walter White, Don Draper, Cersei because they exist in positions where they have goals they want to achieve, but the road to get there is strewn with many difficulties. Cersei exists in a deeply patriarchal society and so struggles to exert power in the way that her male counterparts do. Don Draper struggles to be fulfilled and happy within the constructed reality that mandates he should be happy, and Walter White is struggling most prominently with his ego and his want to provide for his family. All of these ideas make for interesting and engaging characters and don't rely on them being good people. Dunk is a good character because he is fighting to prove the value of honor in a deeply cynical world. He is trying to prove to himself that being a just and good man matters in a world where the cost for that can be overwhelming. Dunk is a character that above everything else is interesting. And that's not even getting into some of the stuff you could say about his shame and imposter feelings that give his character that extra touch of nuance. That is the engine of the show, him proving this to himself and guiding Egg away from the worst behaviors of his family. This is what keeps the show moving together. And I can't believe I'm gonna say this because I never feel this way, but the 6 episodes was the perfect amount of time for this show. Not since old school British TV have I felt this fulfilled with the pacing and episode count of a short TV show. Other things, Lionel Baratheon, David Ings, MVP for the season. I'm always happy to see him in things. I've liked his performances since the good but awfully terribly named show Squirrel Recall. God, why would they name it that? So I'm very happy to see him still doing well to this day. And direction, Ira Parker. What they were able to achieve here is really top-notch stuff. You can tell at moments that the show is running with a very strict budget at times, but the editing here was so good that even when I was like looking at a crowd scene and you could kind of see that they're doing a lot of scale projections here, it never felt disjointed. It always felt in line with the intimate nature of the show. I don't really do ratings for the things I watch, but I'm gonna give it a go here. I would say that this is like an 8 out of 10 show for me. Just something really special. It probably sits somewhere far above season 5 of Game of Thrones and right next to season 6 of Game of Thrones for me. But overall, just a wonderful season of television that tells a very classic story about honor, chivalry, and the price for it.